All right, it's been a pretty crazy year. It's been 2024 has flown by, and I'm trying to figure out what we need to do for 2025. But before we do that, why don't we just do a quick year in review today? And it's just me. Will's not here. Peter's not here. I feel like it's been a while. With the crazy year that we had, I feel like it's important that we do a quick time of reflection, get a chance to kind of think about what has happened over the last year, what we've learned, what we've experienced, and then we can figure out really what we need to do for the year moving forward. Because this year, can you believe it? Can you believe 2024 is almost over? I only started this thing less than 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And in that short period of time, we've gone from no one has ever heard of us, from sitting in the corner of Georgia, completely unknown, to the what I call the thought economy. A little bit over a year and a half ago, Peter asked me, who are the most influential men on the internet? Who are the people that you look up to? Who are the people that you learn from? Who are the people that you're trying to mimic? Who are the people that you would like to meet one day? And I remember we did this episode, it was approximately a year and a half ago. And in that episode, I gave 4 names. I said I look up to Tucker because the way that Tucker is able to put his ideas out into the world, that his monologue format was probably my favorite format ever. When he got kicked out of Fox News, it's when I started doing my short form monologue content, the ones that you see on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, whatever that you watch it on. And without him getting kicked out of Fox News, I probably wouldn't be doing what I am today. So Tucker Carlson was top of that list. President Trump was also on that list for me. I had been a big Trump supporter from 2016 to 2020. And through this election, you guys have seen the content. You guys have seen me around the campaign. And he is someone that I had looked up to, not necessarily because of him specifically, but because of the way I saw how propaganda works, how the people are able to weaponize the system around him, how people are able to go after him, and to watch him and how he navigates and how he combats that. I thought there was a lot to learn from. A third would have been Joe Rogan, because I watched a lot of Joe Rogan, especially during COVID, because I'd be listening to his podcast. I'm trying to get ideas. He was the first one. He was one of the only ones really pushing back on the COVID lockdowns, on a lot of the COVID ideas. And Joe Rogan was someone that I listened to regularly. Actually, if you notice, I use the same mics he used. I use the same headphones he used. I actually wanted to create the podcast to be a more Joe Rogan type of thing. Later, I found out that that's not my style. But if I hadn't discovered Joe Rogan, I probably would never started a podcast. And finally on that list would be Andrew Tate. And I know Andrew Tate's a controversial figure. What color is your Bugatti? But at a time where I was questioning reality, questioning the matrix, questioning the narrative of the world around me, he was one of the first ones, especially in 2021, that was very vocal on his pushback against the establishment, pushback against society, really promoting the idea of masculinity in men and not being a shill for the establishment. I really enjoyed that. If I didn't run into his content when I ran into it, of him saying, get off your ass and do something important, get off your ass and do something difficult, I don't think I'd be in the place I am today either. So when Peter asked me, who are the 4 people that you look up to? Who are the 4 people that you've learned something from? Those were the 4 names I had on my list. Crazy enough, in the last 12 months, I've had the opportunity to either meet or engage with all 4. And wait a second, what? How do you go from the random guy from the corner of Georgia no one's ever heard of to meeting Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, and Andrew Tate all within 12 months? No advertising, no promotion. I never reached out to them first. They've always somehow reached out to me. And it's really crazy if you think about it, isn't it? How do you go from no one's ever heard of you before to being known to probably the 4 most important or well-known names on the entire internet? And I don't want to feel like I'm bragging, because I'm not. Well, maybe a little. But I think what it proves, if you're willing and able to take your honest ideas, think differently than what you're told you have to think like, to put your ideas out there unapologetically, no fear, just do it because that's what you truly believe, that the market actually reacts, that the people in certain echelons of society, that's actually what they want to hear also. And for the last 12 months, we've been fighting censorship, we've been fighting shadow bans, we've been fighting getting banned on TikTok, which is something that actually happened to me this year. Not for being a misinformationist, not for lying. I've actually never had a community note or a fact check or anything of that sort on my content, never before, because I believe in facts. I believe in logical, analytical research and presentation of materials. And even though we try to do our best to be as factual as possible, we've been fighting those demons for the last 12 months. And what I've realized is this: if you are a right-wing propagandist, and if you just mimic the words and ideas of the Fox News, of the OAN, of the Newsmax, of what the right-wing mainstream narrative wants you to say, you actually don't run into any problems. If you are a left-wing propagandist, and if you just say the words and the ideas and put out into the world the things that the left-wing propagandists want you to say, you don't run into any problems. The ones that run into problems on the internet are the ones that encourage people to think for themselves. And if you think about that, wait a second. Why is that true? It's because the system does not want people to think for themselves. If you're going to control society and you want to make it easier for yourself because no one wants to work with 8 billion individual data sets, then what you do is you start grouping people. You group people based on their demographics, on their beliefs, on their political ideology, their religious ideology, their sex, gender, whatever that means, all of that. And you put people into their predetermined lanes. And the reason you do that is because it is so much easier to control the population if you have a label. Now, if you try to incentivize people to not be a certain label and to be in the gray between various groups and labels, then you create a big problem. Hey, have you ever had an Excel worksheet that you're working on, a big spreadsheet, and everything goes into the columns perfectly so you can collate, you can organize, you can sort, you can move things around, and all of a sudden, you find a couple pieces of data that don't go into any category. It's actually a huge pain in the ass. It's very difficult to deal with because you have to worry about, all right, what do I do with these outliers? It doesn't fit in group A, it doesn't fit in group B, it doesn't fit in group C. I'm stuck with this random data, and now because of that, it's ruining my entire spreadsheet. They do not want to promote, they do not want people to be outside of a pre-described lane. So for those that encourage people to think for themselves, for those that encourage people to not fall into a lane that society cannot determine who you are, but that you yourself can determine who you want to be, we get penalized. But it's all right. We are fighting through. In the last 12 months, we've had the ability to travel all over the country. We've been to San Francisco, we've been to LA, we've been to Washington State, we've been to Idaho, we've been through all parts of Texas, we've been through all parts of Florida, obviously here in Georgia. We fell in love with Nashville and Franklin, Tennessee, which is maybe my favorite place in the country. We've been into Virginia, we've been to DC, we've been into New York and New Jersey, and we've been to Chicago. We've been everywhere. And we've got to meet people and followers and fans all over the country. We've had conversations with various people all throughout the country. And what I've learned in my travels is this: there are more of us than there are of them. What that means is this: they want to make us feel like the political, ideological extremes dominate the country. But the reality is that's not true. Actually, I think the real divide in the country, and actually the real divide in the world, are humanists and transhumanists. The divide in the country is people that want humans to be human, that want humans to have their own rights, want humans to be free to live, free to make our own decisions, to think for ourselves. That is on one side. And on the other side is the group of people that like control, the group of people that want to take away your ability to think for yourself, the ones that want to tell you, that want to indoctrinate you, the ones that want to control what you believe and what you see, the ones that want to merge you with technology, the ones that want technology to decide how we think, how we live, because God forbid they have to go out of their way to make decisions for you. They would rather train an AI machine learned bot to figure it out for you and have them do it on your behalf, on their behalf. That is the divide. The humanists, that want to live free and have control of their own destinies, and the non-humanists that hate humanity, that hate freedom, that want ultimate control because you are nothing but a mere inconvenience to them. Do you know what? There are more humanists than none. That's what I've learned traveling out the country. And yes, I get it. People can be sheep at times. Technology is a really strong tool and weapon. It starts to guide, it starts to morph, it starts to influence, it starts to push us towards certain ideas. But the reality is that the human mind is strong enough where you can break free if you just have the opportunity to do so. And that's what we do here. We want people to live free. A little over a year and a half ago, we started this mission, and we started this not with a huge plan in place. I didn't start this and start talking to a camera, start talking to the internet, going, man, I hope I'm really famous one day. Like, that was never the goal, never a thing. Actually, if I thought that if in 5 years, 5,000 people were to hear my words, see my face, listen to my ideas, that would have been considered a huge success. Here we are, a year and a half in, think we've picked up over 1 million followers over various social media platforms. We probably do, 300 to 500 to 1 million views per day, depending on which platform we're on. That we've done no advertising, we've done no marketing. The whole thing worked because of one simple fact. The sheer number of people that have shared the content over time. Because somebody watching said to their friend, hey, why don't you check out what Matt Kim is saying? Bro, we literally built the community based on warm transfers. It's literally the best way to grow anything in life, by the way. And how amazing is that? That people that watched the content resonated and agreed with it so much, or appreciated at least just the thought, that they're willing to call their buddy, their friend, their sister, their cousin, their mother, their son, their grandson, and say, hey, I think you should check this out. To all of you that have shared the content, thank you. It's so amazing that we've gotten this far. And that's really how I perceive most everything in life, is that I have an idea, I feel like I have a direction in which I want to go, and without overthinking it, without over-planning it, I start things by just literally starting them. I didn't know how to start a podcast. I didn't know what cameras were. I didn't understand the lighting. I didn't understand the audio. I didn't even know what this mic was. The first day I started a podcast, I literally did Google, hey, how to start a podcast. That's how it began. You just start day one by doing day one things. It seems so obvious. A lot of people will message me and say, Matt, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I'm starting thinking about putting content online. And, I just want things to be perfect before I do it. Like, no, don't waste your time doing that. Let's be real. In the beginning, no one actually watches you. No one actually cares. You actually don't know what you're doing in the beginning. So to think that's going to be perfect when you don't even know what perfect means is crazy. You just got to start. If you have an idea and you want to be online, just start. It's going to suck. It's fine. It's going to suck. No one's going to watch. People are going to judge you. It's okay. People forget. Because you will get better with time. Reps, time behind the wheel, that's all you can do. Seed time. You just gotta get more experience. You just gotta spend more time. You just gotta get yourself out there and go through the pitfalls. You gotta embarrass yourself a little bit, put out some really bad ideas, have people troll you, and you don't really know if you're cut out for the internet until the moment that you actually go on the internet and someone says, no, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're so ugly. How well do you react to the ultimate negative criticism and the flood of trolls hitting your comment section? Until you've actually experienced that, you actually have no idea what the internet is like. You got to go through it. And do you know what? It's not the worst. It'll go away. It gets better over time. Like, yeah, you're ugly. Fine, great. So what? You are too. 2023 was really about, is this even a thing? Do I even like this? Do people actually resonate? Do people actually care about my ideas? Do people actually want to see my ugly face? That is a lot of 2023. 2024 is, okay, I think people actually will give me a little bit of their time. It's proven. We have gone through the initial market test of, is this something that the internet will consume? Great. 2024 has really been on the job learning. We had to learn how to network, how to meet interesting people, how to have conversations with them, how to follow up with people, how to engage with them properly, where you're not overbearing, but yet you're able to penetrate a certain level of trust with people, how to get into different markets and different people and different parts of society that I never dreamed I'd be a part of ever before. Figuring out the networking portion was a lot of this past year. We also had to figure out how social media works. I'm not a social media expert. I don't have an experience or background in social media. So how does Instagram work? How does TikTok work? How does X work? How does YouTube work? How do you stream? How do we create our own stream? How can we do this with the minimum amount of people with spending as little money as possible? Because the reality is that this is not a profitable business. We do it because we care. We had to figure out how to actually do it. We also had to figure out how internet psychology works. Humans in person is different than a collective of humans on the internet. And you're also fighting algorithms and bots and groupthink of the internet and being put to a group demographic of people that may agree only or may not agree only. How internet psychology works, how hooks work, how payoffs work, how psychological payoffs work, how retention works, how to keep people engaged and involved, and how to encourage people to think and look past the predetermined narratives. These are all things we all had to figure out this year. We also had to figure out how network effects work, the mainstream media versus alternative media. And what we're finding actually is that a lot of this independent media is just mainstream media, just different people funding them. Actually, the whole thing is a big club, and the people that are truly independent, like I am, we're the ones that have to figure out on our own, and that even the independent media, the alternative media, it's like saying the Democrats and the Republicans are different. Two wings, same bird. Independent media, alternative media, and mainstream media, two wings, same bird. It took me a while to figure that out. I didn't realize that was true. I thought independent media meant independent media. It's not true. How do we break through that? By being a non-propagandist? Because there are three types of content. One is entertainment. People who make videos just to get a reaction, get you to laugh, get you to be scared, get you to be fearful, that are just purely reactionary, and their goal is purely to get a emotional response out of you, whether it's happiness or sadness or just pure attention. And then you have the second group of content creators, which are propagandists, which are people, somebody has paid them to give their ideas to you because they want you to influence your belief. The third, which is the smallest subsection of the internet, are the thought leaders. I feel like I'm trying to be a thought leader, someone that plays in the thought economy. And there's not a lot of people out there that truly give their honest thoughts out into the world without agenda. We have to be the minority. Welcome. You're on the right side of history, by the way, because people that do it purely for entertainment can always be replaced by people that do it for entertainment. The people who are propagandists are just paid shills. They provide no value to society. They will also be replaced by someone else that will say it on their behalf. Think news anchors. A news anchor doesn't actually believe what they're saying. They just say it because someone paid them to do it. And the few minority who I believe will be the lasting parts of the internet, the ones that actually will have long-term impact on the internet, are the thought leaders that throw their unadulterated ideas out into the world for the benefit of others. I think we are definitely the minority on the internet, and it may not seem like it now, but I'm telling you, as we go into a more digital world where everything seems fake, everything seems manufactured, everything seems overly produced, the ones that give their honest opinions on things, the ones that are more analog will win. Because value is actually in scarcity. And as the world becomes more digital, as that becomes mainstream, as digital content and digital ideas and propagandist ideas become the majority of the internet, what is scarce, which is honest, genuine takes, they will become the most valuable. So what's the plan for next year? I've been thinking about this one a lot. Like, what do we do next year? Because now that we've market tested year 1, now that we've learned year 2, we are getting into year 3. And if anyone watches football, wide receivers who get paid the most, who have the biggest impact on a team, I believe, their breakout year is always year 3. You market test, year 1, you learn, year 2, year 3, you scale. So how do we scale? This is where I'm at right now. Been figuring it out. Do we do it into a regular show where we do content like this? Do we become a stream? Which I like the idea of streaming. I feel like streaming will actually be the future of all content because as we go into overly produced content in society, and as we go into more AI-driven content, that the only way to prove that you are honest, real, and genuine is to do it live. I think there is going to be a shift for live interactive content. So maybe that is something that we will do. Maybe all our shows from now on have to be live. Do we stick to just US news and US issues, or do we start to scale? And I think actually the future and the biggest show in the world, the next show that's going to break the internet, the next show that's going to have the most influence is going to be a global show. Because you got to think, guys like Tucker Carlson, Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan, they're all vying to be the #1 podcast in America. They are a podcast. They don't talk to you. They talk to guests. And although I think talking to guests is valuable and having guests on has its place, the next biggest show and the one that will make the biggest impact in society will be someone that talks to the world on a global scale. And it's not just talk about the little issues going on in America, because America is a very small fraction of the world. As society moves to a one world government, new world order type of setting where we are trying to remove the borders and barriers between countries and ethnicities, a show that is anti-globalist, that is the global dissident voice of the world, that promotes the idea that you can have your tribes, that we focus on issues that are affecting parts of the world that maybe you don't even know about that I think are interesting. I would love, for example, to talk to someone in Syria. I don't care if they're called a terrorist. I want to know what the terrorists are saying. I want to know what the other side of the story is. I want to know what's going on in Brazil. I want to know what's going on in India and Pakistan. What happened to Bolsonaro? Where is that going over there in Brazil? What's up with barbecue in Haiti? We talk about the Haitians eating the cats and the dogs. What's really going on in Haiti? Anybody know? Cryptocurrency is taking over the entire globe. It is not a USA currency. It is a global currency. Because of the way cryptocurrency works, is that global communities are starting to come together. We need to create a voice for the entire world and not just here, not just the United States. Because I don't want to just focus on US political content. US politics sucks. The whole thing is a show. Nobody cares. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to make these changes and continuing a resolution. And we are going to shut down the border. And I can't believe it. Dude, they don't do anything. It's all bullshit. Fuck them. There is a global movement from the leaders of society in every country, region of the world that is trying to leverage and use technology to control the populace. I want to live free. I want to live free. I want my daughter to live free. And I'm going to be honest. I truly believe that we're going to run into a place in society where you as a free person have the choice. And it's going to be a choice. You're going to have the choice to plug in or not. If you want to give up control of your mind, you want to give up control of your ideas, if you want to give up control to the boss, to the algorithm, to the tech overlords, you're going to have a choice if you want to give up control. In exchange, you will have maybe a slightly better life. On the other side, will the people that want to live free, and the people that want to live free will have a little bit more inconvenience. It will be a little more harder to navigate society. You'll have less access to maybe modern convenience. And for me, I'm okay with that. I would rather die on the side of the free. I'm trying to teach my daughter so that when she's given that actual choice to live controlled or live free, that she will decide to live free. And my goal is to encourage as many of you as humanly possible to live on the side of the free, because selfish reason, when my daughter has the choice to live controlled or live free, in living free, she will not be alone. I need more of you to join me on the uncomfortable side of society so that when my daughter, hopefully, joins and stays on this side of freedom, she will have friends to play with. I don't want her to be the weird kid with no one else around her. I want her to have other weird kids with her. And people say, Matt, how do we stop this? How do we stop what's coming in the world? There were times where I thought maybe there's a way you could stop this. And what I realized is that this can is kicked so far down the road that you actually can't stop it. So instead of trying to dismantle the existing matrix and reality that's being built around us, instead of trying to dismantle that, I think what we actually need to do is we need to start creating a alternate matrix, alternate reality. A way that the people who want to live free wants to live out of ultimate censorship, out of control, out of mass surveillance, an alternative way for those people to live. Maybe that's what we're working on. It's interesting because sometimes I start ranting, I start talking online, I start thinking about these things, and then I'm like, oh, it makes sense. You can't beat them. What you can do is we can create lifeboats. I don't want to live controlled. I don't want to live under mass surveillance. I don't want to live under the shitty system that they're building around us. I don't think you do either. I do not want to live in the confines of the shitty infrastructure and system controlled by AI and bots and their dystopian rules. I have no interest in living in that side of the world. I want to live free, where I make my own decisions about my own life, where I can think about the things I want to think about, where I can communicate and engage with and have commerce with people that I choose to do so. I don't want anyone to tell me how I can live my life because that is not the premise of which this country was built. And although this country may be abandoning that, like most other countries in the world, maybe it's time to create our own alternative reality. 2025, bro. It's going to be a crazy year. I don't know where we're going, but what I do know is that it's time to act. It's time to scale. It's time to put theoretical ideas into actual practice. See you on the flip side.